Hi, I'm JJ. Welcome back. I wanted to do a wrap up. It's not technically a monthly wrap up. It's just odds and ends of probably about 6 weeks of reading that didn't fit in any of my other videos, so I thought I would put them all here. Most of it was really good reading. The two that I really wanted to like ended up being my the worst reads for this time period. So I did a earlier video when I talked about wanting to slow down with reviews and kind of delve deeper into a book each month. And so unfortunately that the two that I picked, the one that I did in July and then the one that I just finished in August, I don't have enough to say about it to warrant individual videos. They would be like 2 minutes long. So the first one was Watership Down by Richard Adams. I really wanted to like this. There was parts that I liked, but it was overall almost repetitive. I guess I'm used to like end of the world, dystopian movies and books and stuff where the protagonists are traveling, they think they find a safe home, ends up being worse than the other, so then they go to another one, and then the people along the way they meet are all just awful. And so it just, there was, I mean, granted, this is the 50th anniversary book, so I mean, it's older than that. But it was in 72 when it was published, so it would have been before all of the onslaught of that same type of theme and everything. And it follows a group of rabbits who, Fiver is this just regular rabbit. He's not high up on the hierarchy or anything. He's just a common rabbit, but he feels something bad is coming to the warren, and he warns his friend Hazel, and then they try to warn people, and not everybody listens, but there are a few people who, a group that follows them, and then it's just their adventures as they try to find a safer place to go. So they have to try to avoid humans, cars, foxes, cats, dogs, birds, like everything. And it's a dangerous world out there for them, but some of the biggest problems they have are amongst other rabbits. And so when they think they find a new place to stay, the hierarchy that they tried to escape from before is even more militaristic and rigid, or they just don't feel safe there, essentially. And so yes, it is about the encroachment of humans on wild land, and the warnings of how dangerous it will become for the wildlife there, but also a commentary on those types of societies. But it also is an adventure book. It's a kids are geared towards like middle grade YA book, so it broaches those subjects, but I didn't feel like it fully delved into it, and maybe I just wasn't in the right mind frame when I was reading this, but I guess I really was expecting it to be really great and a lot deeper than it ended up being, and I was disappointed that I didn't get that. My cat is making noises, so I'm sorry, it's kind of distracted me. I don't know what he's digging into over there. The other one that I didn't like, and I was very disappointed with was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. So maybe it was just not my time to read books by Adams's, but I like that one even less. The humor, I didn't mesh with it at all. If you watched any of my videos, I'm not one to read, funny books or humorous books. Every once in a while, I will be randomly amused by a book, and it will surprise me and delight me. But most of the time, I want something deeper, and I'm a lot more serious when it comes to what I choose to read. And I just didn't really get all that humor. I didn't think any of it was funny. And in that one, the Earth basically gets destroyed, but before it does, a alien saves this human, and he is now on a journey across the galaxy, trying to come to terms with the fact that there is life out there, that Earth is gone, and what that all means for him and for life. And so that kind of all culminates with them asking this computer what the meaning of life is, which is the infamous 42 answer. But that one, I don't think it's a spoiler. I've always known that, even though I've never read the book until now. And it still didn't make me, it didn't give me any more insight or depth or anything to it. The idea is you just have to find the right answer for that to be the correct question. And so I do kind of like the philosophy there, but just the quirkiness and the randomness and the style of the writing just wasn't for me. So I'm not going to do individual videos for either of those books. I'm still debating on if I want to write a review for it, because it's really hard to write reviews anyway for books that you really enjoy. But when it's just a blah book, I just don't feel like I have anything different to add to a conversation that hasn't already been said. So that being said, I did have some books that I really enjoyed. I finished a trilogy by Shauna, Lawless, the Gael song trilogy, and the book 3 was Land of the Living and the Dead. And this series is historical fantasy, and it's takes place in England or Ireland area, where you have to deal with the Vikings taking over, the Irish still trying to maintain their autonomy, but also you have the clash of pagan and Christian religions, and even for the fantasy part, you have gods and humans, but then you have essentially, which would be like half-blood, like the half-bloods. I'm thinking of Percy Jackson, demigods type of thing. And the demigod characters and the gods hate each other. The humans are not supposed to know about either of them. And it had a lot of world building and stuff across the trilogy. And you really got to get into the characters and the understanding of this conflict. In the author's note at the end, you got to see which parts were inspired by actual history, which characters were inspired by actual people, which was interesting for me. But you also get a great conclusion by book 3. They progressively got better. It was a little bit slow world building for book 1. I really enjoyed book 2. And then book 3 just didn't let up either. It just continued with the momentum of book 2 and just made the stakes higher and made the story more interesting. A great conclusion. and I really liked the depth of all the characters, how morally gray most of them are. None of them were really good or really bad. There were a few exceptions, but overall they were interesting characters that I would like to follow into the next trilogy that she's writing, but also she has a bunch of like one-offs that are novellas kind of in between the books that you can read to learn about individual characters that someday I'll probably get along to reading as well. So that was the Land of the Living and the Dead, which was book 3 of the Gael song trilogy by Shauna Lawless, and I will put that down below just because that's a mouthful. Another one that I read was Here Goes Nothing by Emma K. Ohland, and this was a retelling of Much Ado About Nothing, but it was a sapphic retelling, and you get all the hijinks that you would expect from a Shakespeare comedy with misunderstandings, and in this one the two who are, it's like a enemies to lovers type of story, and the two who don't get along, the sister of one of them and the best friend of the other, who are dating, get a plan to make the other overhear them talking about him, as in so-and-so has a crush on her and she doesn't know how to say it because of their past and how much she hates her, and it makes each person who overhears it start thinking differently about the person and wondering what they might see in them if all they were awful to them, and maybe they should reevaluate who they are as people and stuff. So like you get that regular storyline within Shakespeare, but this one also deals with like real modern issues. So not only do you have like race and class and stuff like that, but the sister who is basically doing the prank, or the matchmaking type of thing, she has a kid in school that she used to date who essentially is revenge porn that he starts circulating, and it's not even her, but her reputation's already ruined, and how that affects her and the circle around her, how that affects the girls in the school, and how the boy who released it is considered, a victim, possibly, if it were him, since there was no proof, and how she is demonized as, promiscuous and all that stuff, and the double standard there. I really liked how that was explored, more so than what happened within the Shakespeare story. So I do like that they kind of reinvented and gave more depth to that story, in addition to all the other stuff that they were discussing within the school and the community and stuff like that. So that was Here Goes Nothing by Emma K. Ohland. Another one that I was very surprised to have enjoyed was I listened to Mad Mabel by Sally Hepworth. It was my first book by her, and I definitely plan to read more. There had been a couple that were on my TBR, but I hadn't read them yet, and now I'm kind of moving them up on my list. It's a thriller, and this one actually had comedy in it, but it wasn't a comedy, whereas the stuff that I had misunderstood or didn't appreciate about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the humor in this one was spot on for me. So it follows, the tagline is essentially the least you expect, or the two people you least expect to be murderers are the elderly and children. And that's already sounds interesting. And so you follow older woman, Mabel, who is retelling her life story, because when you meet her, she is this sassy older lady who just only has one friend, doesn't really fit in with the town, is annoyed that the new neighbor, a little girl, is following her around and wants to become her best friend. And I just really like her personality and her sense of humor. But then the neighbor, the other neighbor who she always clashed with, ends up dead. And although he's an older gentleman and it was most likely natural causes, because of Mabel's past that we slowly get revealed, they start to suspect that maybe she murdered him. And then you find out that she was the youngest person imprisoned for murder in Australia. You know, the character was. And you kind of get to see how that all happened, and how the idea of someone, once a rumor starts, just escalates. And so when she was really little, her little sister died of, I think they either both had like smallpox or polio or something, like a childhood disease that she survived, but her little sister did not. And her father blamed her for it her whole life. And so when anything went bad within the family or around them, it was always blamed on her. And then it just kind of snowballed to anything that went bad with anyone or anything. It was all her fault because she's this bad person, and she's, you know, psychotic and crazy and no conscience and no remorse and all this stuff that she wasn't at all. But she couldn't even defend herself because everybody had already made up their mind about her. And so you get to see the actual truth, with all the lies sprinkled in around it, and how it got morphed into her now being a suspect all these years later, for something that might not even be a crime. And you get a lot more. You get the family dynamics, you get the backstory of the little girl and her mom, who want to befriend her, and information about her Mabel's best friend. And there was a whole bunch of twists, and a couple of them were absolutely fantastic, and I enjoyed them. Whether you see them coming or not is not even the point. It's just such a fabulous and fun read that you want to stick with this this woman, and you want to fight for her and defend her. But even if she did commit murder, because I kept expecting her to be like, well, if you already think I did, then I'm going to get rid of this really bad man right now, and I'm going to pay the price for it and stuff. So, like, you almost start to root for her when she's ready to just, like, give it up and get sick of trying to fit in and get sick of trying to be good and trying to clear her name and just, like, go with it. And it's really hard not to, like, root for her to do it. But it was on hold at the library for a long time. It finally came available, and I devoured it. And it's always hard when you have stuff at the library because you want to read it when you reserve it, and it was like months ago, but you don't know if you're going to be in the mood when it actually comes available. So I am trying to not request things that I know are going to be months wait, and just wait until I can actually have access to them. So that doesn't happen, because then it does alter my reading, because I'm having to hurry up and try to get all these books in that I might not even be in the mood for anymore. That's, I guess, one of the perils of being a mood reader, I guess. But this one worked right out, and I found it right when I needed to, and it was beautiful. So The other couple, and I did mention this one in a recent video, but I read Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I am eagerly waiting for book 2. And this one is a fantasy, historical fiction, sort of. It's set now, but they are going to be time traveling in book 2 to Elizabethan England, which I'm really excited about. Especially since she'll get to see, she's a historian and she loves history of any sort, but the fact that she's so excited that she'll get to see Shakespeare plays live and meet Christopher Marlowe next book is literally a dream come true of mine, so I'm actually jealous of a book character. But she is a historian who happens to be a witch, and it has some of the most interesting world building when it comes to the origin and mythology of witches, demons, and vampires that I've read. I really enjoy how they make it like a great blend of magic and science, and so I loved that part. Her love interest is sort of like a Romeo and Juliet type of thing, because she's a witch and she falls for this vampire who keeps following her around. And he has this, he's been alive for like over a century, and she keeps naming like all these amazing historical events that he witnessed or was alive during, and that is absolutely what I would do if I met somebody who, you know, was around in like 500 AD or Common Era, or 1500, especially since I've been reading for Historathon those eras. Just kind of meeting somebody who had been there would be fascinating. So I can see why she would be drawn to that despite the danger, but also the way that they grow to take care of each other and protect each other, and the family that they create around them, because she has 2 aunts and his mother, and then they also get a couple of demon allies in their journey, because the book starts with her finding a magical book that only she has access to. There's a spell on it, and none of them knew how to access it, and it is what could possibly be their origin story, so like their version of the Bible or whatever. And they all want it, but she doesn't know who she can trust with it. She doesn't even know if she wants to know all of that. You get her family history of her parents and how powerful they are as witches, how they died, and what they may or may not have known. And she has to try to learn and get a grips with her powers as well. So it's a sort of, I mean, she's older, so it's not a coming of age, but it feels almost coming of age as she learns and grows and learns about herself and grows as a witch. But just the depth of the origins of each of these, I guess, species of people, and so they're in a world that coexist with humans, but humans are not supposed to know about them, and they're trying to have this battle over, you know, who knows what, who deserves to know what, who deserves to share what, in the midst of also trying not to expose any of them to the real world and the human world. And so the stakes are already really high, and this is just book 1, so I really am anxious to see where book 2 goes, especially with the time traveling aspect, as it's mentioned in here as a magical power someone can have, and having to explore that I really think it's cool how they deal with time travel. That's always one of my favorite topics when we're talking about sci-fi or fantasy. And when it's done well, it's so fascinating to me. This is what I wanted Outlander to be. And I haven't finished any of those. I've only read the first one, but I haven't really been inclined to read anymore. But this one I'm devoured and can't wait for more. So maybe it will get me in the mindset to revisit Outlander later. But for now, this is the time travel story that I am addicted to. There's one that I read that when I'm in a reading slump, especially in July when it was so hot, and even the beginning of August, where you just can't concentrate fully. I did a lot of rereads and audiobooks and stuff just because I couldn't fully concentrate. And in order to reset, I always revisit romance, just to clear my palate and clear my mind and just know that I'm going to enjoy the story. You know, they're predictable and fun, and I read this one. It's a sapphic romance, Anderson and Bloom by Jennifer Dugan. I've read her before. I do enjoy her books, but this one was really interesting because it takes place. So Anderson and Nikki were childhood stars on this huge, like, Disney show type hit, and one went off, you know, kind of the deep end with drinking and drugs and everything, and then Anderson escaped. They had dated during that time, and she had her heart broken, and just left Hollywood and the business altogether, and has been running a flower shop in Maine, which had been her dream job. And then she finds out after 5 years of no contact and avoidance from anyone from her past life that Nikki is writing a tell-all book, and she gets really mad because she feels that she's just doing it for more publicity, and she's not ready to have everybody find out where she is by trying to go look for her if she mentions in the book all the stuff that went between them. And she just doesn't trust Nikki to give her a fair shake in the book, and she expects it to be this horrible trash talking type of thing. So they reconnect, and she wants nothing to do with Nikki, but Nikki wants her to review the book and you know, give her the okay. And what is the most fascinating is when you don't know somebody that you used to know. You know, 5 years has passed, they've both grown and changed, and seeing them as the person that they used to be, and not acknowledging who they can become and who they are, and how they're trying to change. It felt so real and so grounded because of how true that is, that we don't always give people the benefit of the doubt. If they hurt us before, we assume they're going to be the same kind of people, and that they won't have grown and changed just like we have. And the other thing is how different our memories are, and how we can be experiencing the same thing, but when we take each other's point of view, the way that we saw it is completely different than the way that somebody else experienced that same event. So reading the book and seeing Nikki's take on these things that she just didn't fully understand because she only had one side of the story was addicting. I could not put this down. I usually try. I have not. It's been a while since I've stayed up really late and to finish a book, especially when I work really early and have a long, exhausting day. The last thing I want to do is give myself like 3 or 4 hours extra sleep, but that is exactly what happened when I read this. And it kind of got me back in the mood of reading again, and now I've been devouring everything I've read. So maybe I should have read this before Watership Down or the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because I might have been in a much better headspace. But this, like I said, it always resets me just to read something that you know is going to have a happy ending, that you just kind of... it's not that you don't think, but it just allows you to reset everything. The opposite is true with this one, though. I actually was thinking quite a bit and getting really deep with it. So this is Anderson and Bloom by Jennifer Dugan. And I do have to give a shout out to my friend Carol, because she is in France and she's always sending me her book haul pictures, and this was in it, and I didn't realize that Jennifer Dugan had another book out yet, and so I was like, oh, I'll order it and get to it when I can. But then I got it and read it right away and then was done. And so, like, from the time she sent me the picture to ordering it, and yes, I did use Amazon because I wanted it right away, was like 3 days. So thank you again, Carol, for this recommendation. And I always love it when you share books with me, especially ones that I need to know about. And then the last one I read was The Names by Florence Knapp. And this was a phenomenal book. I finished it a few days ago, probably by the time I post this, about a week. But I could not stop thinking about it. The importance of a name and how it does three POVs, and how each one follows. So this woman and her daughter are taking the baby to get registered and give them a name, and each point of view is a different name they choose. So they choose Bear, which was the name that the little sister wanted. And then they choose Julian, which is the name the mom wanted. And then they choose Gordon, which is the name that the dad wanted. What's significant about this is it depicts domestic violence. So if you do have any trigger warnings or anything for that, that is a significant part of the story, because his reaction based on the name choice is miserable. So in the first one, he beats her because she named him a stupid name like Bear, and ends up killing the neighbor who tried to step in and stop it. So Bear and his sister and mom go through the first timeline with the mom being a single parent, and they're a close-knit family. You get to see how that affects them, how he doesn't know how to open up to people quite well, doesn't know if he can trust people because he has this, part of himself, his dad within himself, and he's worried. But then you also get to see the mom flourish a bit, grow, because she's a really good mom and she's trying to protect her kids. And then you get the sister's timeline, and she likes girls. And in each timeline, depending on if the dad is alive or the mom is alive, affects how she views herself and how she accepts that version of herself. So it's just a fascinating exploration of families and of identity and of life. And then the second timeline is, and this part all comes up at the very beginning, so none of this part is a spoiler, but under Julian, the dad is really upset, but he doesn't kill anybody, but the mom doesn't leave either, and eventually she gets killed by her husband. So then in that timeline, the husband goes to jail, or their dad goes to jail, and they're raised by her parents. And then in the third timeline, because he's so proud that it's named after him, they live in this family, but the mom has to live with this abusive relationship because she's scared to leave the kids with him. And so, whereas in the other timeline, when she tried to escape, he killed her. This one, he stays with her, but she's so miserable. And so are they. In this timeline, he controls everything. Gordon, the son, is not a good guy in this one, whereas he's good in all the other ones. The daughter does not come out. She's too scared of herself because she doesn't want to have anything that would upset her dad. They don't really have contact with the mom because the dad is that controlling. And just how these different situations, just based on his name, affects all their lives, and it follows each of these characters and that timeline for 30 years. So you get the past when he was born, but then you also get up through like COVID into modern times and stuff. So it was absolutely fascinating, heartbreaking, hard, beautiful, and then it like ended all those stories, and then it was like, and then what if his name was this? And then like literally it was just like a blip at the end for like the afterword or the epilogue or something. And I was like, well, then where's that book? I want to know what that family's story would be like. So it just really makes you think about what it means for identity when we choose our name, when it's chosen for us, the people who choose it, why they choose it, and how when you inhabit that name, it affects the people around you and how they treat you. And it's just something that I never saw explored in a book before, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I know that there is a similar book called The Namesake that reading the summary, it has been on my TBR, and it sounds like it might be a similar thing, which means I'm going to be devouring that as soon as I can get my hands on it. But otherwise, it was something completely new and different for me, and I just love the depth of it, the way that she made each character complex, and how that family trauma, that inherited trauma, how domestic violence, how all of that impacts generations of people, because you follow the boy, the brother and sister, but then as they get significant others in their lives and try to create their own families and stuff, you can see how it shapes their relationship with their kids or nieces and nephews or their significant others. And it's just all intertwined, especially if it's not dealt with properly. So when you're dealing with this fear that you're going to grow up to be like your dad, so therefore you keep yourself at a distance from everyone, that is going to change your interactions with every single person you come in contact with, and how you are scared of your own self. And I need to see if she has more books, or if anyone else knows anything that's similar to this, just that, like a family saga, a deep exploration. Please let me know. But I highly recommend this one. This was, as much as I've enjoyed most of my reading this month, this definitely was my favorite. So this again was The Names by Florence Knapp. And I will put these all down below so you can find them easy. So anyway, that is my reading wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and watching. And as always, have a wonderful day and happy reading.